Oi! Welcome back to HP Gaming GameLINK. We've got a review for you today. We're going to be reviewing a world where the bombs have come down, the water's dried up, and carnage is absolute king. This is our review of Roxley Game Studios, Radlands. And if you don't like it, well, you can kiss my arse. Hey folks, welcome back. For those of you who don't know me by now, and you should, my name is Matt, and you have to excuse my friend at the opening, but as he said at the outset, we are taking a look at the wonderful Radlands by Roxley Game Studios. You can see the big box here. We've broken down the big box to take a look at the core element of the game, I should say, not analysing all the playmats and everything else, although they are amazing and make for a great playstyle solution. Today we're going to be talking about the game as a whole, our concepts, what we think about it, the components, overview, theme, all that sort of crazy stuff. To give you a bit of an understanding of what Radlands is, if you haven't been watching the channel, and why haven't you been, it is effectively a 1v1 card battler with a shared deck of cards, the goal of which is to use those cards to destroy your opponent's camps, thus claiming absolute victory over the battlefield. It is a game of push your luck, hand management, a lot of take that action point system spending, all that sort of crazy cool stuff. We absolutely love it. Let's get into it and talk a bit more about it. At its core, Radlands is a game set in the aftermath of a global apocalypse, and you are an army of Wastelanders, or a commander of a leader of Wastelanders, that are intent on seizing control of camps of your opponent, thus generating and increasing your water supply and obviously your survival. This is a game that uses a shared deck of cards for your action cards, or your hand limit, I should say, along with a plethora of camps, which are blackboarded cards that you'll use to use special abilities and launch volleys at your opponents. It is a game that is deeply strategic in its simplicity, and I'll come to that a bit later. But in terms of the mechanics of the game, it uses, as I said at the outset, a couple of different mechanics that I really like, particularly the way they've been implemented in this game. The action point system is represented, I should say, by water. You'll use water to send troops into battle, play cards from your hand, use water to generate events to move them along the event track. You use water to generate more water, thus giving you more abilities to do during your turn. And effectively, water is the lifeblood of the game. Without water, you can't do any actions and you'll just be steamrolled by your opponent. It's very clever in that you only are given 3 action points to spend, or 3 water to spend on your turn, and it will be up to you and your smarts to try and figure out ways to expand upon that as you see fit. Cards will allow you to generate extra water on your turn. You've got your water silo, which is available at all times to help you generate extra water on future turns. But ultimately, the action point system is something that you need to manage really well in order to maximize your efficiency on your turn. The hand management part of it, which leads into that, is very important, because on the cards you have not just the actual card and its effect, but you also have what's known as a junk ability. Now, the junk effect, this is one thing that really intrigues me, because it means that no matter what you get on your turn, you might have an absolutely crap hand of cards that you can't do anything with because you've got no water to spend, but you can always junk the card, discarding it to use its top corner ability. And that might be doing damage, it might be fixing another card, restoring it, it might be giving you other cards from the deck, it might be generating water. There is a plethora of options that are available to you on your turn, which makes this game deeply strategic as it is incredibly chaotic. And we love that about it. It's fantastic. The take that style gameplay, I love a good take that game. Munchkin is one of my favorites because it's all about messing with your opponents. This game is no exception, but you have to be very specific and very strategic about your take that maneuvers. The more of an offensive you take, the less defensive actions you can take, and you may leave yourself, or your camps rather, open to a counter attack. And if you lose all 3 of your camps, you lose the game. In terms of the hand management, we'll just come back to that for a moment. In terms of the play style that you are required to use, there is another element of the cards that I really like. You can use an ability on a card to put a punk into play. Now, a punk is one of these guys. They are people too, despite what you might have believed, but they're effectively, even though they're people, they are effectively cannon fodder for your opponent. And while they're in play, they can effectively block more powerful characters from being destroyed behind. So there is method in the madness. They are usually a free card to play, and there are cards that will generate 3 punks in a turn, so you can block your entire lane of traffic from your opponents. The laneway play style, I really dig. On the board when you have it set up, it is easier, I will say, to identify the play areas by using the playmats that come with the hazmat or the hazard edition. But you effectively have 3 lanes of traffic, and they obviously, your leftmost lane corresponds to the rightmost lane of your opponent, etc. And you can only usually attack in those laneways unless the card specifies otherwise. Some camps have cannons on them that can fire across the map, etc. And usually you can only do damage to the card that's in the front of the row, meaning that you need to destroy those cards before you can get to the camps behind them. And that's where those punks that I talked about can come in handy, because laying 3 of those out with 1 move is very helpful in terms of your defensive maneuvers and play styles. And I like the fact that when the punks are played, they're played this way face down, so you don't know what ability lies on the reverse of the card. If the punk gets destroyed, it gets placed on top of the deck, face down, so the card underneath can potentially be drawn by your opponent the very next turn. And if it's a powerful card, they may very well use that against you. And that's something about this game I really kind of dig. Let's talk components for a minute. Now, the components on this one, I mean, effectively it is just a card game, but the production that Roxley have put on this, and they've knocked it out of the park. The acrylic, not the acrylic, I guess they're like a plastic water tokens, but the discs, they are quite hefty, they're quite thick. There is a set of 6 white and 6 black. The black effectively is your reserve token if you go beyond your 3 water tokens that you're given every turn. But the water tokens have the unique ability to be flipped. Well, not unique, but they can be flipped, and they have a dash icon on them, meaning that the card that you've paid for that turn with that water, that little dash or negative token means that you can't use that card's ability. Effectively, it's summoning sickness, to use another term from another well-known game, for that card, so you can't use its ability. Some cards will say, yes, go for it, you can use it straight away, but the fact that you can use those tokens to not just denote how much water you've got left to spam, but also which cards you've played this turn, is really helpful in keeping track of what the hell is going on. And there is a lot going on. Even though it's a 1v1 game, there are cards that are going to be flying everywhere. There's events that move down the track and attack your opponent. The Raiders card is a stalwart staple of this game. I cannot recommend using that highly enough because it is pretty much unblockable. But having those water tokens in play, and the fact that they've got quite a bit of weight to them, for those of you that have watched the channel, you know I'm a tactile person. So having the tactile tokens in play, it's almost like having a set of poker chips, like triple thickness poker chips, and I love it. There's really quite a nice feel, quite a nice heft to them, and I dig it. The rulebook on this one as well, I will say, is something that's been really well done. There have been some other games we've reviewed or talked about or given mini reviews on where the rulebook is just absolutely ridiculous. You might as well not even have it. It's a waste of space. The rulebook for this one is simple. It explains everything in great detail, even though there's not a lot of real estate on it. And having the artwork and the little sayings and poems and things that are in there as well is a real treat. I really dig that, and it just adds to that theme of the game and the Wastelanders, and the fact that some of these people who live in the wastes have I don't know, adapted as best they can, and even though they've potentially gone quite mad or irradiated or whatever the case may be, some of them still maintain that sense of poise and poetry and understanding of what life was before. And it's really dig that. It's really quite nice. The cards themselves. Now, the card stock for this one is a bit, I don't want to say unique because it has been done before, but the card stock is really nice card stock, but it's quite a thick card stock. The best part about the card stock, and I don't know if you can see it here, is that it flexes and bends. Now, usually, Matt, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't bend the cards. However, when I bend them, it bends back into shape. And you would have seen me do that in the unboxing video as well. But the cards maintain their straight edges. So do you need to sleeve them? No, I don't think so. We've played many times. We took it away with us to Yarrawonga after Christmas on holiday, and we played quite a few games. Charlotte is beginning to get her head around this one, so we're not going to play that with her anymore because I don't want her to start beating me. But this is a card stock that I love, partly because our three-nager, our junior gamer Blair, when she likes to bend cards, she likes to bend cards. So knowing that they're going to snap back into their best position is fantastic. It's really junior gamer friendly. So for all you serious gamers out there that have small kids like myself, this is something you won't have to worry about. It's one thing you can tick off your list. Okay, so the theme. Post-apocalyptic wargaming, yay! It's been done. I know it's been done. It's overdone in some cases. Waste Nights. I don't know how many different games there are that deal with apocalyptic warfare. There is plenty out there. There is. What makes this work so well is the artwork on the cards and the simple desire to literally just have that one goal of destroying your opponent by any means necessary. There isn't any... The theme is very simple in that, okay, it's a post-apocalyptic game and there's the craziness of the artwork to sort of dictate this very sort of Road Warrior, Mad Maxi vibe without going into, oh, there's deep undertones of social commentary and all sorts of stuff. It's there, don't get me wrong, it's there, but it's not slathered all over your face. That's all you can think about. The theme for this game is basically you are trying to survive as best you can with the troops you've given. As insane as they are, they're going to work for you until they either succeed in their quest or they die trying. That's about as far as the theme goes. The art on the cards, chef's kiss. It's amazing. The art in this game is fantastic. Now the artist, if I remember correctly, where are we? Illustration. Manny Tremblay and Damien Mamaliti have just knocked this out of the park. The art on the, I mean, look, the game box alone, right? The game box alone has a punk here looking this wonderful thing, but if you lift the lid, sorry kids watching, the head's gone. Such a unique little mechanic, but it looks brilliant. It looks so good. The art on the cards is fantastic. The inside of the box lid for this one here has this beautiful rainbow nuclear explosion mushroom cloud of crazy. It's just fantastic and looks the absolute business. And I think seeing the cards face up on the table, seeing them as punks looks nice on the table too, but seeing them all face up, beautifully laid out on the table as you play in your lanes of combat, the cards just look fantastic. The color style, the color paletting, the graphic design of the different logos and symbols and things, it's absolutely fantastic. Roxley and their team have just knocked it out of the park. And I think it adds to the thematic, the art style. It really helps to sell that immersion into what is effectively a 1v1 card battler. And this is what makes one of this game one of the top 1v1 battlers, in my opinion. It hits the table more often than Ashes at the moment, and a few other games we've got that are 1v1. It's absolutely fantastic, and we really dig that. Likes and dislikes. Okay, so I think we've established what I like. Theme, yes, big tick. The artwork, graphic design, brilliant. The flow of the gameplay, it's very much, you do as much as you can in a turn and pass the turn. They do the same thing. Events move up and all that sort of stuff. Everything is free flow, almost a reactive style gameplay. Even though you're doing multiple actions in a turn, there's still that, I'm gonna do this, no, I'm gonna do this, no, I'm gonna do this. And there are times when you can interrupt your opponent's turn, etc. So the flow of the gameplay and the style of gameplay is really smooth, really intuitive, and once you've done absolutely everything you can possibly do, it's really easy just to have the rotation of turns. It's fantastic. The replayability in this game, due to the number of camps that you can use as your base, you get 3 camps per game, which changes your hand limit at the start of the game as well, which I really dig. The fact that there is 29 camps to choose from that are dealt out randomly means you're always going to be having a different strategy every time you play this game. It's fantastic. Yes, it recommends there's 6 camps you start with as a bit of a tutorial for the game and introduction to the game, but moving beyond that, there is just so much of a plethora of camps that will do different things that will help you revitalize or restore your cards, attack other players, attack the other opponent's camps directly, do other things like draw more cards into your hand to give you more options, generate more water. Anything you can think of, one of the camps will do it. And the fact that you don't know what camps you've got until the very start of the game, it's absolutely fantastic. It's really, really clever. And I think it's a good way to get people to keep replaying the game over and over again. Very, very clever indeed. My only gripe, and it's very, very small, teaching this game can be a little bit tricky. I mean, if people are a seasoned gamer, they'll know and understand some of the concepts if you explain them in layman's mechanics terms. Oh, hand management. Oh, it's an action point system. Okay, fantastic. But I think if you're explaining it to someone who doesn't play games a lot, the learning curve can be quite steep, only because the mechanics on the cards, while the graphic interface and the graphic design is really fantastic, if you don't have that player aid there with you and you haven't read the rulebook to see what each one does, it can be a little bit clunky in terms of, oh, hang on, if I junk this card, does that mean I can move my Raiders event into play, or can I move it up one, or how does that work? So I think playing with someone, or I guess best way to learn a game is always by playing. That's a given. But I think if you are teaching this game to someone who is a layman's in terms of gaming and a hobby as we know and love it, you'll need to take time to really get them involved. Get them to watch Mad Max beforehand or something, just to get them in that mindset. And I think you'll find that you'll have a much better time. That's probably the only dislike. Everything else about this game is just fantastic. And Roxley have just done an amazing job in the production, as I said before. In closing, is Radlands something I can see myself tiring of anytime soon? No, I don't think so. The replayability, the fact that Charlotte does obviously enjoy the game, Catherine, my wife, enjoys the game, the fact that Blair is starting to show more and more interest as she gets older, and obviously it'll probably take her a good couple of years before she can really get into a game like this, but the fact that it appeals to everyone of all ages is fantastic. The theme appeals to everybody. Apocalyptic games are out there in spades because the theme works. I think this is a game where you could have mini tournaments. If you have multiple decks, you could have your own little tournament of Radlands to see who is the Radlands champion. There's no reason that couldn't be something that takes place. The fact that there is that randomized draw of the camps and you pick your best three, and that'll dictate whether you start with 3 cards, 5 cards, or no cards in your hand. It's just really, really fantastic in terms of the replayability, and it's really engaging gameplay. It's not so much a matter of you have your turn and then you wait 45 minutes for someone to agonize over cards. The agonizing of the cards is not because there's plenty to do and there's lots of different options that are available to you. It's because, okay, if I spend this water here, then I can't use this water for that card, and I need water to activate this ability, and you've only got 3 water to use per turn. It's an agonizing decision. Do you spend that money or that water to go all in on an event you know is going to do massive damage, but it won't happen for 3 turns? So then you're sitting there just basically twiddling your thumbs while your opponent goes to town on you, and hope they don't wipe you out until that event goes off and just annihilates their camps. There is just that risk versus reward. How hard do I push my water usage? How hard do I push against my opponent? Or do I just go all defensive and just wait for them to tire themselves out and then steamroll over them? There's lots of different ways to win, lots of different ways to play in terms of play style, and I think there is a way in this game for gamers of all play styles, types, etc., genre lovers, to find something to love about this. And that's what makes this game truly great. There is not one person I've sat down with Radlands who's gone, hated that, it was awful. Despite the fact that, you know, it's a game that deals with a theme that has been done to death, quite literally. The fresh artwork style, the fresh look, the fresh feel, having those tokens and cards just looks amazing. They didn't have to do all that. They could have just used punchboard. They could have made you remember it in your head, you know, all that sort of stuff. I think the detail, the dedication, and the beautiful honesty they've brought to the production for this one makes this a game that's going to stay in my collection for years and years to come. And now that I'm 40, because I've just turned 40, go figure, I'm going to be looking for games like this that are going to have longevity, because while my acquisition of games is probably not going to slow up anytime soon, there will come a time where I just don't need any more games anymore. I know, right? Terrible to say. But there will come a time where I just won't either have space, or I'm going to lose interest in acquiring new stuff. I just don't have the time to learn brand new games and things like that. So being able to have a game that's going to last the test of time, that I'm going to really, really enjoy and keep playing every so often, bringing it out, and something like this that you can take away. Like this here, pop it in your little bag, pop it in a suitcase, and you can take it anywhere in the world with you. Look at that, it's gorgeous. You can take the big box with the play mats and everything else as well. You can just go take that and take it with you. I mean, the artwork is just, I can't go on enough about the artwork. It looks fantastic, and the guys have done an amazing job putting that together. So kudos to all of you for making that look so gorgeous. Look, in closing, Radlands is a game that I think everyone would be able to find something to love. A lot of people don't like 1v1 card battlers. They think, oh, really? I'd rather play something with some meat into it that I can really sink my teeth into. Radlands has that in spades. It's definitely worth a look. And I think if you haven't already checked it out and you haven't seen the Kickstarter videos and everything else as well, please, by all means, check out the unboxing, have a look at some different playthroughs. We're going to try and get a playthrough for you done in the not too distant future as well. But Radlands is a game that I think will stand the test of time for many, many years to come. And who knows, maybe there'll be some expansions in the works. I don't know. But I do hope, I mean, look, there's plenty in the box to keep us going for quite some time. There's no reason to get into all of that. Expansions and whatnot. Not yet anyway. But who knows? Maybe if we're in the not too distant future and we're back having live tournaments again, people can come around and we'll get into some Radlands, and maybe you can take out the title of Apocalyptic Champion. We've got plenty more to come, folks, on the channel. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you to all our Patreons who allow us to do all this crazy stuff that we're doing with games. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And if you haven't already, folks, hit that subscribe button so you get to see all the new content when we post juicy new stuff for you. We will see you back at the table very soon. Charlotte and I have both had birthdays, so we're trying to get a bit of a birthday playthrough celebration done. Maybe of, again, a junior game. I don't know. We'll see how we go there. Until next time, folks, be kind, send lots of love to each other, get back to the table, play lots of games, and we'll see you back at that table very, very soon. Till then, it is bye for now.